Lads, it's Tottenham. Remember that. It feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? Tottenham have now beaten Manchester United 3 times this season.
Yeah, it really does feel like a complete shift in power, you know? And it's not just the results. It's the way Tottenham just dismantled United. They were
Yeah,
tactically superior, more clinical in front of goal, and frankly, they looked like the bigger club.
it's hard to argue with that. And you're right, this wasn't just a fluke.
Right.
We've gotten a ton of messages from you guys about this, so we're going to deep dive into what is really going wrong at Old Trafford.
Yeah, the Tottenham match is like a microcosm of their larger problems.
Uh-huh.
They've got this injury crisis, sure, but even with those missing players,
Right.
their bench was so weak they had no firepower to bring on and change the game.
It's like they sent the troops into battle with no ammo.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the January transfer window.
Like,
Why didn't they strengthen the squad when they so clearly needed reinforcements?
well, that's where things get interesting.
Okay.
They made some money from loan deals, like with Martial and Rashford,
Right.
but chose not to reinvest it.
Interesting.
Some are pointing fingers at the new Ineos ownership for that.
Right, because this isn't Ineos' first rodeo in football.
Yeah, exactly.
They own OGC Nice in France. And their track record there is, well, let's just say it's raising some eyebrows.
Yeah, what's fascinating is that Ineos' time at Nice almost mirrors what we're seeing at United now.
Really.
Big spending, constant managerial changes, this lack of real football expertise at the top, and ultimately they've failed to live up to expectations despite all the ambition.
So are we saying that Ineos might be as bad for United as the Glazers? Because the Glazers have faced years of criticism for putting profits ahead of the club's success and the fans' interests?
Yeah, some fans definitely see parallels there. They're worried that Ineos could repeat those mistakes and turn United into a financial vehicle rather than a winning football club.
Which is a valid concern given what we've seen at Nice.
Yeah.
But let's be fair, it's still early days for Ineos at Old Trafford. Maybe they have a long-term plan that we're not privy to.
That's possible, but the lack of investment in January, especially after letting key players go out on loan, sends a worrying message. It makes you wonder if they truly understand the level of investment needed to compete at the top of the Premier League.
Right, because this isn't just about balancing the books. It's about ambition, about sending a signal to the players, the fans, and the rest of the league that Manchester United is back and ready to challenge for trophies.
Exactly. And right now that signal is pretty weak and the fans are picking up on it. We're seeing protests against both the Glazers and Ineos. They want action. They want to feel like their club is being run with a clear vision and a genuine commitment to winning.
It's understandable, isn't it? You pour your heart and soul into supporting your club, and it's tough to watch it flounder, especially when you feel like the people in charge aren't making the right decisions.
Yeah, and that's the crux of the issue, isn't it? Is this simply a case of poor management, or is there a deeper systemic problem at Manchester United that goes beyond just the current ownership?
Okay, so we've established that there's a lack of squad depth, questionable transfer decisions, and growing fan unrest.
Yeah.
But let's go beyond the immediate issues. What about the bigger picture? What about the identity of the club?
That's a crucial point. Since Sir Alex Ferguson retired, United have struggled to find a consistent style of play, a philosophy that defines them. They've gone through a carousel of managers, each with their own ideas, and it's created this sense of instability and lack of direction. It's like they've completely lost their compass, and without a clear identity, it's hard to attract and retain top players, you know?
Yeah,
Why would a world-class talent choose United over City or Liverpool right now?
right.
They're not just competing on the pitch anymore. It's about the entire project, the vision, the belief that the club is moving in the right direction.
And that's what's so frustrating for United fans.
Yeah.
They see their rivals building dynasties, winning trophies year after year,
Right.
while their beloved club seems stuck in this cycle of mediocrity.
And it's not for lack of spending either.
Right.
United have splashed out huge sums of money in recent years, but it's been poorly targeted,
Uh-huh.
often on players who don't fit the system or who don't seem to have the right mentality.
It's like they're trying to assemble a jigsaw puzzle with pieces from different boxes.
Yeah.
It just doesn't come together.
And that lack of coherence filters down to the players on the pitch. You
Yeah.
know, you can see it in their performances. There's a lack of confidence, a lack of cohesion, almost a fear of failure that seems to paralyze them.
It's interesting you mentioned fear of failure because one of the sources highlights how different the atmosphere is at Old Trafford now compared to the Fergie era.
Right.
Back then, there was this swagger, this belief that they could overcome any obstacle.
Yeah, that's the intangible quality that's so hard to replicate.
Yeah.
It's about creating a culture of winning where players are not only expected to succeed, but are empowered to take risks and express themselves on the pitch.
And it's not just about the players, is it?
No.
It's about the manager, the coaching staff, the boardroom. Everyone needs to be aligned, pulling in the same direction.
Absolutely. And that's where the ownership issue comes back into play.
Uh-huh.
The fans need to believe that the people in charge have a genuine love for the club, that they understand its history and traditions, and that they're committed to restoring it to its former glory.
Which brings us back to the protests.
Yeah.
It's clear that a significant portion of the fan base has lost faith in both the Glazers and Ineos.
Right.
They see them as out-of-touch businessmen who are more interested in profits than trophies.
And it's not just about money, it's about respect, about feeling like their voices are being heard.
Right.
The fans want to be part of the solution, not just passive spectators while their club is dismantled.
It's a complex situation, and there are no easy answers, but one thing's for sure, something needs to change.
Yeah.
Manchester United is too big a club with too much history and tradition to be allowed to drift like this.
They need a reset, a clear vision for the future, and a leadership team that can unite the club and inspire everyone to pull in the same direction.
Do you think that's possible with the current ownership structure?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Glazers have shown little appetite for change, and Ineos is still an unknown quantity. Ultimately, it comes down to whether they're willing to put the club's interests ahead of their own.
It's a tough situation for the fans, for the players, for everyone associated with Manchester United.
Yeah.
They're stuck in this limbo, not quite good enough to challenge for top honors, but too big to simply fade away.
And the longer this uncertainty persists, the harder it will be to turn things around. They're losing ground on their rivals, both on and off the pitch.
It's almost like a vicious cycle, isn't it?
Yeah.
The lack of success leads to frustration, which in turn makes it harder to attract top talent and build a winning team.
Exactly. And breaking that cycle requires bold decisions, a willingness to embrace change, and perhaps most importantly, a recognition that the current approach simply isn't working.
So where do they go from here? What needs to happen for Manchester United to get back on track?
Well, for starters, they need to address the ownership issue.
Okay.
Whether that means a full takeover, a change in leadership, or a greater commitment from the current owners to invest in the club and empower the football people to make the right decisions, something needs to shift.
And what about the manager? There are already rumors circulating that they're considering another change.
That seems like a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
They need to appoint a manager with a clear vision for the club, someone who can build a team that plays with a defined style and philosophy, and then give that manager time and support to implement their plans.
That's the key, isn't it?
Yeah.
Giving a manager time to build something sustainable.
Exactly.
United have been too quick to pull the trigger in the past, and it's created this constant sense of upheaval.
And they need to be smarter in the transfer market.
Okay.
They need to identify players who fit the system, not just big names who look good on paper.
It's about quality over quantity, building a squad that's balanced with depth in all areas, and where everyone understands their role.
And they need to rediscover that winning mentality, that fearlessness that used to define Manchester United. That's not something you can buy in the transfer market. It's about creating a culture and environment where players thrive and believe in themselves.
It's a tall order, and there's no guarantee of success, but it's not impossible.
Right.
Manchester United have the resources, the fan base, and the history to turn things around.
But they need to act decisively, and they need to act soon. The longer they wait, the harder it will be to bridge the gap with their rivals and reclaim their place at the top of English football.
So what's fascinating here is that even Tottenham fans are protesting, and they won the game.
Yeah, that speaks volumes about the state of modern football, you know? Fans are increasingly disillusioned with the way their clubs are being run, and they're making their voices heard.
Right. The Tottenham fans are protesting against Daniel Levy, their chairman, who's been there forever.
He's been a controversial figure for a long time, and there are some who feel he's held the club back. But again, it comes back to this idea of football clubs being treated as businesses first and sporting institutions second.
It's almost like the romance of football is fading, being replaced by this cold, hard reality of financial interests.
Yeah, that's a very real concern. The Premier League in particular has become a global financial behemoth, and sometimes it feels like the fans are the last ones being considered.
It's a bit depressing, isn't it? I mean, I love the drama and the excitement of the game, but sometimes you have to wonder if it's all just become a bit too much about the money.
Yeah, I think that's a question a lot of football fans are grappling with right now. It's important to remember why we fell in love with the game in the first place, and to hold on to that passion even when the powers that be seem determined to suck the joy out of it.
And that's what makes these fan protests so important, right? It's a way of saying, hey, we're still here, we still care, and we're not going to let you take this away from us.
Absolutely. Fan power has the ability to make a real difference. We've seen it time and time again.
But it's got to be more than just complaining on social media, right?
Yep.
It has to be organized and it has to be sustained.
Exactly. And it has to be smart targeting sponsors, disrupting games, making it clear that the current state of affairs is not acceptable.
But coming back to United, what do you think needs to happen for them to turn things around? Is it even possible with the current ownership structure?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's hard to see a clear path forward while the club is seemingly being pulled in different directions.
Because let's be honest, it's not just about the money. It's about having a clear vision for the club, a footballing identity, and a genuine commitment to winning. And right now, Manchester United seems to lack all of those things. They're a club adrift, and until they find their compass, they're going to keep running aground. It's funny, one of the sources we looked at actually described Manchester United as Titanic 2, like the sequel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope they can avoid a similar fate, but they definitely need to change course and fast. It's a bleak picture for sure to see a club with such a glorious history and a passionate fan base seemingly held hostage by their own internal struggles.
It really is. But hey, this is football. Stranger things have happened. I mean, look at Leicester City a few years back. Nobody expected them to win the Premier League.
Exactly. So while this deep dive has unearthed some pretty grim realities, maybe this is the wake-up call Manchester United needs. Maybe it's the catalyst for real change.
But a wake-up call's not enough, right? It's going to take action from the owners, the management, the players.
Absolutely. And from the fans, too. They need to keep the pressure on, keep demanding better. Because at the end of the day, Manchester United is more than just a business. It's a community, it's a passion, it's a way of life for millions of people around the world.
So given all this, what do you think needs to happen for Manchester United to turn things around? Is it even possible with the current ownership structure?
That's the million-dollar question. Only time will tell. We certainly uncovered some tough truths about their situation, but maybe, just maybe, this is rock bottom and the only way is up from here.
A fan can dream, right?
Never say never in football.
Well, on that note of cautious optimism, we're going to wrap up this deep dive. We've gone from a frustrating loss to Tottenham all the way to questioning the entire structure of the club. It's a lot to process, but hopefully you've gained some valuable insights into the complexities of Manchester United's current situation. Until next time.